Good morning. Welcome to the breakfast analysis. Today we are going to be basically going over Challenger League in North America. The season 11 has finally ended, and with it, all of Challenger League in NA and throughout the world is now over. So I don't really want to delve too deep into every single team and what happened. This is mostly going to be a recap, basically talking about the season, talking about the league, and basically what we had this season. Let's get into it. First of all, congratulations to PogChamp for dominating the season and winning it out entirely. I did mention in my last video that I didn't think PogChamp were all that, to be honest, but clearly I was proven wrong. I got a couple things wrong about that team, so I do want to apologize for that. They've been very dominant in the second half of the season. I think they've been undefeated for how many maps is it even? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7 maps in a row now. They lost to Senshi back in Playday 4. I don't know. They definitely had a rocky-ish start, and I didn't really pay as close attention to the middle of the season, which is why I think I underestimated them a little bit, because the middle of the season was really where they started to take off, and then they were dominant in the last half of the season. So I was very busy with exams during the middle part of the season. I was mostly basing what I'd seen off of them a few games in the middle of the season and the early part of the season. But they really did turn it around, and I'm really proud of that for this team. I think that I think this is a very good team for North America, and they obviously broke the record for the most points in Challenge League. They got 33 points, which is better than any team had ever gotten. They broke Obey Alliance's record from last season, aka United's record of 31 points. So they got 2 extra points over EU, and were able to take home that sweet cash prize of 20 grand. It's pretty good for them. In terms of the season as a whole, I thought it was pretty interesting from a viewer perspective. I think really how a success of a season should be measured should be just how entertaining it is from a viewer perspective. In my opinion, that's what really matters most. And I thought the season was pretty good. The four-way fight for the top spot was really interesting. These last couple of play days, we really saw PogChamp, Bruh, Vanquish, and Joe break away from the rest of the pack and really fight for that top spot, and sort of decide who was the best between those four teams. And this was sort of something that emerged in the season pretty early on, by about Playday 4, maybe even Playday 3, you could say. It was kind of clear that these were the teams to beat. After Playday 3, these were the top four teams, and they never stopped being the top four teams. They did switch around quite a bit, but after Playday 3, nobody else ever entered the top four other than PogChamp, Bruh, Vanquish, and Joe. So very early on, we got to see that these are the teams to beat. This is sort of the clash of the four best teams in the league. Who's going to do the best? And that's just a great, storyline in general. Pick your favorite of the four and watch them play. And they were really fun to watch. I thought all these teams had pretty good personalities. PogChamp came with all of their history and all of their personality already loaded in. Vanquish as well, were really long-standing names, so I think a lot of the veterans of the scene were sort of getting behind the Vanquish guys. Also having a nice org helped quite a bit there too. And then Joe Esports and Bruh were just such lovable new faces to the scene that they got a lot of love as well. So it really did feel like everybody was sort of supported all throughout the season, and those top four teams in particular were really exciting. I think in all seasons of Challenger League, we sort of have those teams towards the bottom that nobody really cares about, and I don't think this season was a huge exception to that. I will say that Okami really kept things interesting by bringing in some wacky strats. Their branding was really, really good as well, so they got some fans in that respect, and they kept things interesting. Shook Squad also, coming in with a lot of extra fans due to the personalities on that team. Braxton and for the time Austin brought a lot of eyes to their games, which I thought was great for them. And then they actually started to make that push. I thought that their arc throughout the season was really, really interesting. And if they had managed to break into the top four, it would have been fantastic. Like last play day or something, that would have been really, really cool to see. They didn't quite make it in the end, but I do want to, shout out Shook Squad for having a pretty good, pretty interesting season, despite starting off pretty slow and pretty terribly. Senshi and Reckless were sort of those teams that were kind of boring. They did both have some veteran players on their roster, so hopefully there was some entertainment back value there, right? Like Breezy and Thumbus for a while played on Reckless, and then over on Senshi you had Thomas. And people kind of like to joke about Murdy's stats, so there's something there, I suppose, for entertainment value. But no, overall, I thought it was an entertaining season with a very close race to the top for the first four teams. Then some, opportunities for a couple of those bottom teams to break open into the top four and really prove themselves as well. Play some interesting games. I thought that was really really fun to see. So not a bad season in terms of entertainment value. Wimpy Kid is likely the season MVP in terms of CGG ratings. It's not updated. Nobody has entered the stats on the back end of CGG from what I can tell for Playday number 7, but I can't imagine anybody's catching him. He's got a 1.26 rating. Most of his competitors are on Bruh, who did not have a great Playday number 7. So it's possible that somebody like Sippin or Jay or even like Kilo or Chala maybe overtook Wimpy Kid, but he had a pretty big lead coming into this Playday, and most of his competitors' teams didn't do great in the final Playday. So I would imagine that Wimpy Kid will be walking out of the season with the MVP. I'll be tweeting it eventually, who actually gets the season MVP. But it would be well deserved. I thought Wimpy Kid was explosive all season long. A large reason, obviously, why Joe Esports were so dominant. He's an extremely flashy player. He has a ton of potential. And I'm excited to see where he goes in particular because, this is really like the fault or the murk of like CL Season 11. Season 9, the other season that I casted, sort of had those big stars that were really impressive. I don't know if it was really the same in Season 10. Like, I'm trying to look at these players. I guess, like, Yeti was in that season. He was pretty big. Spades as well was really, really good in both Season 9 and Season 10. On Obey. I don't know who's good on Obey. Fozo. And then he got cut. Rest in peace. Yeah. But either way, like, there's some really great standout stars on this season. I mentioned a couple of them before, but, like, Sippin and Jay did very good as well. For Bra, they both finished Playday 6 with a 1.22 rating. Wimpy had a 1.26. For first place. So, no, congratulations to Wimpy Kid for that. I thought that he was fantastic and certainly has gained a lot of followers and a lot of fans and really humble, like, great guy as well. All the players on Joe Esports have been exceptionally friendly, fun guys in my interactions with them. So, I'm glad to see that was a team that really popped off and excelled this season. $20,000 goes to the winners. That's PogChamp, of course. 12K to Bruh, 7K to Vanquish, 4.5K to Joe, and then 5th through 8th all get money as well. I posted the full breakdown on my Twitter last night as of recording. So a lot of money being handed out, but obviously those relegation spots not being given out this season. It's disappointing. I think that PogChamp certainly deserve a spot in Pro League. I think just taking a look at the most recent teams in Pro League, ignore all the drama with, what's happening for Season 12. If you take a look at the Season 11 teams, I think that certainly there's some teams that played in Challenger League that deserve to be in the top 8 teams of North America. I think PogChamp undoubtedly would be like middle North American Pro League. I think we could certainly beat some of those weaker NA Pro League teams. Like could probably beat United. They could probably beat Tempo Storm. They could probably beat Evil Geniuses. They'd probably be up there. Bra, Vanquish, and Joe, I would say, are considerably less likely to be able to beat any of those teams. I think no doubt PogChamp are in the top 8 teams of North America in my mind. Bra, Vanquish, and Joe, I think, would have arguments that they could be pushing top 8, but I think that there's also strong arguments that, Evil Geniuses and Tempo Storm would be better than these 3 teams. It's hard to say, right? Because, sure, we just saw Bra, Vanquish, and Joe spend a whole month, like, dominating teams, and we just watched, 6 months of Tempo Storm and Evil Geniuses getting their ass beat. But the competition is obviously quite different there, so it's really hard to judge unless we actually saw those teams go up against each other, which is not likely to be something that we see anytime soon, unless there's some surprises in the new season, which I don't really expect there to be. I will say that I hope that some of these teams get invited to whatever Tier 2 looks like in the future of Siege. How many of those teams, what the Tier 2 scene looks like, I have no idea. I'm not going to try to pretend like I have any idea what's coming up for Tier 2 North America because I genuinely do not. But I hope we see, PogChamp, Bra, Vanquish, Joe, even Chook Squad, like Senshi, Okami, Reckless, maybe less so for those bottom teams, but because I do want to see, other teams have a shot at Tier 2. But I want to see some of those teams, get rewarded other than just money. I definitely want to see them, if they can't be thrown into Pro League, and we're really going down to 8 teams rather than just giving let's say PogChamp brought some spots, then fine. But let's see them at least in the tier 2 scene, please, or in the Canadian scene, or whatever there is for North America. Whether that's with, Evil Geniuses and Luminosity, or whoever doesn't make it to the Pro League for the next season. That would be great too. I'd love to see that, but it's all question marks, right? So I hope that these teams get rewarded, but really all we can do is sit and wait, and these teams are going to have any answers for a while. Fans aren't going to have any answers for a while. I'm not going to have any answers for a while. We just got to find out. So hopefully they do, but don't hold your breath would be my my comments on that. We had a lack of orgs this season. Pretty obviously, Vanquish was the only organization that played in CL Season 11, and I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that, this is it's a season where there's nothing really on the line except for money. The coverage of NACL has been terrible ever since its inception, and it's not worth it for orgs to put money into this scene. But even still, like before, if you pick up a good team, there's that chance that you go big and you can sell your roster for big money. That's what Obey Alliance did last time. And they made it big, and Disrupt and Rise last season also were putting a lot of effort into the scene, despite the fact that it was a pretty risky gamble. Before, it was sort of like, if you're an organization, you invest in Challenger League, it's a risk, right? Because you don't really get anything for sure. If your team doesn't make it out of the season, then you get nothing. But if they make it into Pro League, then you get a lot of money for that, right? Either by having a bunch of eyes on your team because you're playing in Pro League, or by selling that roster slot, or by selling that, those 5 guys to another organization. And this time it was sort of just as risky, but no reward for Season 11. So, of course, no orgs really put any money into it other than Vanquish. And I imagine that Vanquish probably didn't give those guys, the players, a crazy good deal. I hope they got something worthwhile. And I hope that, the Vanquish org got something out of it as well. I hope that there was enough viewership that the fans supported that org as well, because it's hard for an organization to justify putting effort into Tier 2 North America, especially this season. So I do hope that, everybody was watching, was supportive of the Vanquish. I certainly did my best to, to promote that team as much as I could, as a caster. So the org support was really low, but that's to be expected. And, we got to play with silly names like Joe and Bruh, which it was fun, if nothing else. I don't know. Some people were really, critical of that, it's really hurting these teams. Yeah, it probably is in some respects, but, ultimately, life is pain might have been the best name throughout the season, just because, it's sort of reflective of the situation. And I'm really not going to jump in there and be like, Bruh and Joe destroyed the season with their terrible names. No. That was not, the season had a lot of problems, but Bruh and Joe being team names were not major problems. I thought the production was good. I don't know, I don't like to hype up production very much. I think that a lot of the people in the scene that are involved in production put a lot of thought into production, but I don't really think that fans care too much. But for those who do, I thought that we did pretty good this season. A lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff went really, really smoothly. I thought that the people involved this season were really great guys who did a lot and were very, very nice to work with. In terms of the producers, there were mistakes, particularly on the B stream. You might have seen a lot of technical issues, but it happens. I thought the A stream was run really, really well. Crater, again, did a fantastic job, which is always awesome to see. I thought our observers were awesome as well. We got probably the best in the tier 2 scene that aren't already doing the highest level. Really, all the observers in the highest level are kind of European, so I thought we had basically the best observers in all of North America working for us, and I'm really happy to say that. I also thought we had the best casters in North America that aren't already in the tier 1 scene working for us. I was really excited to come into the season and work with Red Cube and Caliber Jacob and try to basically help them be the best that they could be, whilst also working on myself. Certainly I put a lot of effort into trying to help those guys out, and I thought that went pretty well. I really did enjoy working with both those guys, and I think that they're very, very talented casters, and I definitely hope that I get to work with them sometime in the future. The rest of our casters as well, we had a pretty good crew all around, and I thought that the other pairs that I personally didn't work with were putting on some pretty good shows as well, and I do hope that everybody enjoyed that. So in terms of production, I was happy with it. I was quite happy with it. I think that despite the budget, this was one of the better production seasons we've had in all of Challenger League. It's this or season 9, right? And this probably beat out season 9 for production. I'm gonna say it did, mostly because of Crater. Let's be clear here. The only reason North America production is any good at all is because of Crater. So please put pictures of Crater on your fridge. And that's it. That's 8 seasons of Challenger League gone by. It's kind of crazy that we started this in season 4. I didn't start it in season 4, but somebody started Challenger League way back in season 4, and then here in season 11, we finally will close it with Pro League also closing. There were a lot of mistakes, I would say, in the way that Challenger League was handled throughout the seasons. I would say that overall, it succeeded in getting teams into Pro League. I don't think it did a great job of it, but it did get more opportunities for those lower level players, and I thought that it was a better way of introducing players into the Rainbow Six ecosystem. I thought in general it got better as time went along. You could point to particular seasons and say, well, I wish they gone back to last season, yada yada yada. But when Challenger League started, it was pretty ass. Before Challenger League existed, the Tier 2 scene was pretty ass, and now it's only a little ass, I would say. So that's exciting. And certainly the 8 teams that can call themselves Challenger League victors will forever have their name engraved in Liquipedia. Infamy, Onslaught again, Noble Esports, Accelerate, 92 Dream Team, Obey Alliance, and PogChamp will forever be remembered as your 8 winners of North American Challenger League throughout the ages, as well as all the winners we've had in Europe and Latin America. So, despite the production issues across the lifespan of this league, and despite the lack of support, I guess, in general, it's been fun, and there have been some very, very fun seasons. Some great storylines, and I just hope that people have enjoyed it. I hope that the players have benefited from it in some way. Certainly, you could point to lots of examples that have, and Challenger League has certainly created some of the best teams that North America has. So there's a lot of good that's coming out of Challenger League. And with it ending, that's probably where we're going to end the video as well. That's been North American Challenger League. 8 seasons of it, particularly this last season, was a fun one. Probably one of the better ones. I mean, I did 2. And the first season I did was pretty good. Season 9 was a banger. But this one was really fun as well, for different reasons. I want to thank everybody who's been following Challenger League, whether you watched watched one match of Challenger League way back in season 4, or whether you followed every single season or every single playday throughout this most recent season, whatever that was. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Genuinely, I think that there was some really fun storylines and some fun teams, and we had a lot of fun casting it. I hope you had a lot of fun watching it. And whatever the Tier 2 scene looks like in the future for Rainbow Six, I hope that there are just dedicated people working on it behind the scenes. I hope that there are just dedicated players, playing in those leagues, and I hope there's always an opportunity for players to show their stuff, right? Whether that means direct promotion or whether that means a real farm system for teams, like an academy league or something like that. I don't know, but I hope there's always opportunities for Tier 2 Siege, because genuinely some of the best stories we get in North America are told in the Tier 2 scene, and it is sad that they don't always get presented in the best ways. So that's going to be it from me. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of the season, what you thought of Challenger League as a whole, and more videos will come, hopefully. I don't know what on, because Siege as a whole is sort of taking a break until TBD. Everything's in limbo right now. No help to coronavirus as well, but I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll be back at some point talking about something, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.